Mid-powered e-mountain bike or full-powered e-mountain bike? Which one is right for you? Kind of a hard question to answer, right? If you don't know exactly what you're gonna do with this tool. So what I'm gonna do in this video is I'm gonna arm you with 5 questions that you should ask yourself to help you decide and really get into the detail on which e-mountain bike is the right one for you. All right, before we get into it, let me define what we're dealing with. A mid-powered e-mountain bike is the newer one in the category. It is a lighter bike, usually 35 to 40 pounds, and it has a smaller motor, a lighter motor, generating about 30 to 50 newton meters of torque, about 200 to 400 watts of power, and a smaller battery, maybe a 300 watt-hour battery with a modular battery extender so you can extend your ride a little bit. A full-powered e-mountain bike is the gorilla of the space. This is what sells 80-90% of e-mountain bikes out there. It's been around for many years, maybe 6 to 8 years in a mature format. And what it has is it's a heavy weight, a 50 to 55 pound weight. And we have a powerful motor, about 70 to 100 newton meters of torque, about 500 to 600 watts of power, and a big battery, usually 600 watt hours to 900 watt hours. So big power here, about 3 times what your legs can do, and this one about maybe twice what your legs can do. So the first question you need to ask yourself is, what kind of riding do you want to do? Are you a cross-country rider? You still want to stay fit? You just want to go a little longer, a little farther? Your analog friends that are younger, you can't keep up with them anymore. Maybe you have a little pain here and here. A little more, then you're going mid-power. You want to stay fit, super fit. Mid-power will really help you do that. The other question is, do you want to pursue the best riding e-mountain bike? Do the big jumps, change direction, something really supple and active and whatnot. Then the answer is still the mid-power. Surprise there, huh? Yeah, the 55-pound bikes, no matter what they do, they don't ride as good as the 40-pound bikes. There's just a lot of weight right here on the frame, the bottom bracket. It's getting better, but it's not quite as nice as that Kenevo SL that I have back there. It's still light and agile and has a little bit of assist power. Okay, so the other questions on the type of riding is, let's say you want to explore a lot, you want to get lost, you want to go on the steep stuff and then do it over and over again. You want to do many different laps of the interesting terrain, the jumps and whatnot. And finally, you want to do your stuff a little faster. Instead of taking 4 hours, maybe you want to finish your ride in 2 hours, and you want to have energy to play with the kids or do some your contracting work, your work at home when you get back home. Then all of these, you go to the full powered. The second question is a little bit personal, I'm sorry, is how heavy are you and how much power do you generate? How many watts per kilo do you do? But not really that like that. So let's say you are a 250-pound rider and your buddy is 110 pounds. You have very different needs. Even if the answer to number 1 was the same, these are very different body needs for the bike. So the 250-pound rider, has more muscle, can lift the 55 pounds, can move it around a little bit. So a full powered is appropriate for them. At the same time, 250 pounds to get it up a big mountain takes a lot of battery and a lot of motor. So a full powered is appropriate for them. 110-pound rider, on the other hand, they can't even lift this thing. That's half their body weight, and not really so much lifting, but move it around on the trail. The active rider is the best rider. Because you're using your body weight to influence the bike and not so much your steering wheel. So you move around, and this is very difficult for a 110-pound rider. This one helps a lot. So if you are low in weight, the mid-powered is helpful. And then I alluded to how much power do you generate? Can you put out 300 watts for an hour, or are you good for like 30 watts? The answer to this. If you're putting out a lot of power, you can haul yourself up the mountain. Then the mid-powered is good for you. But if you're just off the couch, you haven't ridden in a while, or your first time riding, then you need a full-powered to open up your possibilities and your options. Third question you should ask yourself is, where do you live and what kind of terrain are you going to be using this on? Do you have very mountainous terrain like the Alps, the Dolomites, or the Downeyville and the Lake Tahoe, Sierra Nevadas? Over here, I live in the Silicon Valley. We're surrounded by mountains, they're not very high, but they're all very steep. So if you have a lot of mountainous terrain, a lot of options, you want to ride from home and whatnot, then the full powered is a great option for you. On the other hand, if you live in Florida, like terrain, or Bentonville, Arkansas, where it's very tech, and the big mountains are measured in feet. Oh, that's 400 feet. Then the mid power is good for you. The other thing is, if the terrain is very technical, very rocky, chunky, and whatnot, the mid power is better. These have a lot of inertia. You know, they just pound the rocks and whatnot, especially going at high speed. So these are a little better, you know, everything else being equal. I mean, the suspension on them are pretty equal anyway. Number 4 question is, who are you going to be riding with? That's got a lot to do with it, peer pressure. So if you're going to be riding solo most of the time, then it doesn't really matter. But you can get away with a mid-powered for sure, if you're not in a hurry and whatnot. But if you are in a group of e-bikers, most often they're going to have full-powered mountain bikes. Yeah, it's very hard to be on a mid-powered bike, and when all your buddies are riding e-mountain bikes. The reason is not just power. This is the really revealing thing to me, is the mid-powered mountain bike is not really limited too much anymore by power. You know, the watts is okay. You know, the torque is okay. 50 newton meters, 400 watts is okay. The real problem here is battery. You know, when you use all that watts and torque, it uses a lot of battery. That motor is revved. You know, it's like a 4-cylinder on max, pedal to the metal. And so it uses a lot of battery, and you just don't have a lot of battery. So if you are riding with a group of fast guys, a bunch of e-bikers, you need a full powered. If you are riding, you know, with a bunch of analoggers, you can get away with this. A lot of solo, you can get away with this. Finally, number 5 is acceptance. What is the acceptance of e-bikes in your town? You know, the legality, the social acceptance, getting shamed and heckled, that's happening region by region. Everyone hates e-bikes 10 years ago, you know, because they're the new player, the new trail user. You know, no one accepts the new group with open arms. That's not how this works. Unfortunately, you know, people are hateful, fearful of what they don't understand. So if you are in a place that's very accepting of e-bikes, California, northern and southern, full-powered e-mountain bikes, you know, that's gonna happen. But on the other hand, if you get a lot of, if there's laws, or more often if there's shaming from your peers, you know, they don't want you going up the hill fast, or they don't want to hear that noise that the motor is making, then a mid-powered bike is more appropriate. The mid-powered bikes look normal. I have a Trek Fuel EXC. Most people can't tell that it's an e-bike because you can't see it and you can't hear it. So in those situations, mid-powered is a lot more discreet, a lot more appropriate, and they don't go so fast that you need to pass a lot of riders. So, you know, based on where you live, you know, it'll get better, but in your current situation, if they're not accepted yet, or, you know, there's it's still work in progress, then mid-powered is more appropriate. So there you go. Hope that helps you out. What I really want to know from you guys, I think I have some help here, is that we help each other. So on the 5 questions, answer in the comments what your situation is. What are your answers to this question? And is this your first e-mountain bike? Or are you looking for a second e-mountain bike? Or do you fear you've made a mistake on your first purchase, and maybe you want to grass is greener on the other side? So please, in the comments, tell us your situation, and, you know, maybe we can have, I'll personally answer, give my opinion on your situation, but more important, hopefully all of us can kind of circle back and comment on each other's situation, and you know, drive towards that right tool. These are just tools. I have a lot of full powered, since I'm a tester, a lot of mid powered, and I have a lot of analog as well, and they do have a place in my heart and in my legs. All right, thanks a ton.